yeah, around the world.
Get on out your way, get on out your way. So hard to stay, so hard to stay. Get on out the way, get on out the way. So far away, so far away. Get on out your way, get on out your way. So hard to stay, so hard to stay. Get on out the way, get on out the way. So far away, so far away. I've been living in my head, barely sleeping while in bed every weekend.
Hey, welcome back to. All right, do that again.
You got to hold your mic, Ron.
Oh, okay, shit.
We can't hear you.
All right, we'll do it like this. Sorry. All right, so do we have to do that over or no?
No, that's fine.
All right,
that's fine.
All right, okay. Welcome to episode 3 for our new, I guess, reboot show. This is Ron Josol. We have our guests. Our special guest today will be Ruben Paul, which me and Justin already know, and our operator and also producer is Ronnie, and we also have JedRocks, who's our DJ, and our other co-host for the show is magician extraordinaire, big legs, big beard, big appetite, Mr. Rivera, Justin, the Beast Rivera the Third. Hey man, have you straighten your beard? How? I was about to ask you before we were recording.
How I straightened it?
Because it's longer than. That's crazy.
How'd you straighten it?
I straightened it because normally it's curly, it curls in. So I got this beard straightener. It's like a hot. It's a hot brush, hairbrush. You plug it in, and then has different heat settings, and I just start combing it out.
Did you notice it actually was a lot longer when you uncurled it? When you let your hair go?
Yeah, like my beard like touches like my
dude, that's neck. Samson, man. Don't fucking cut it. It looks crazy. It looks really good. Like honestly, you do not look good without the beard now. I can't look at you without a beard. You without a beard is weird.
Like
I know. Like if you known Justin when he used to be clean shaven, his head is fucking this. You don't look anything like that guy. Like you're a totally different person. That other guy was so bare. It's like, you know what? Like it's a Siamese cat. A fat. You know, Siamese cats look like deflated. If you blew their tail, and then it'd be Justin before. Like just you like that skinhead look before.
Yeah, it was just easier. It's easier to I guess style.
Do you think your beard can get back your girl? Do you think that can get that girl back? No, seriously, because that's a hit beard. Yeah, do you think you get back Rebecca with that beard? Because that beard, I don't know, man. I don't know, she likes that stuff.
Another 2 inches, I think. 2 inches, I'll try again.
You know what? Another 2 inches. That's all she needed.
That's all she needed.
That's what everyone
That's all she needed.
2 inches.
Man.
She would have stayed.
Yeah, man. Fucking beautiful. Beautiful as shit. Yeah. Here's a problem though. She's too young for you.
What's the age difference?
You're 36?
36.
Yeah. Well, she's not.
How old is she? How old is she?
21.
Oh.
Yeah.
You beat me.
What was that?
You beat me, that's for sure.
Ronnie?
He's younger than me.
No, but you can't. He didn't beat you because you have to look at the age difference. So your age, Jed, is 41.
Yeah, and she's 25. So we're 17.
So what's the age difference?
17 years.
17 years apart.
And then what's yours,
it's like
Justin?
you're dating me, Jed.
Is that?
And then Justin,
is that a
weren't you
premonition?
20? You're 20 apart, right?
No, what is that?
15 years.
15.
So Jed, you did
I
win.
still beat you.
Here's my dad, 75, 39.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, all my cousins.
39.
Yeah, my dad.
Really?
My dad's 75. He remarried a 39-year-old, and then all my female cousins were like, "That's gross," and all my male cousins were like, "What are you talking about?" So we had
That's
this big,
fucking awesome.
yeah, we had this big debate at my brother's house. Like all the girls were like, he should just go to the mall with the rest of the titos that lost their wives and just be sad until he sees her again. And I'm like, do you think my dad wants to have fun before he sees her again?
Yeah.
Like the last
makes
thing he
sense.
wants to do is see my mom again. I'm like, yeah, I didn't even do anything.
I wasted all this time.
Yeah. I was here for 25 years extra, and I just waited in a mall. Like a sorry son of a
Who
bitch.
says she's not dating, in the afterlife?
Maybe.
You know?
Maybe.
The ghost date?
Actually, you know
I'm
what?
sure- I'm sure they
My
do.
grandpa was 90, and he met his I think 70-year-old girlfriend at the mall.
70?
When,
At
he was,
the
when he
mall.
was still alive, yeah.
At
It's
that
about
point,
20 years apart.
you can't say girlfriend. It's like woman friend. Like that's so.
Yeah, I guess woman friend, yeah.
He met her.
Damn.
He actually picked her up. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Filipinos don't stop. Filipino males are like the Terminator when it comes to their penises. They just don't stop. I've seen this old Filipino man. You know Augie Tulba? You know Justin, right?
Comic? From
Yeah,
Hawaii?
he's a comic from
Yeah.
he's a comic from Hawaii, and he's like kind of like their local celebrity there. The first guy there was Andy Bumatai. The next guy is Augie, and he has a funny joke about how his grandfather is 80 years old and he still tries to pick up girls. That's what he does every morning. He wakes up, he lives with the family. He goes, eats, and then he goes on the street with his cane, and he tries to pick up. He never does it.
That's like his thing.
Yeah, but
daily
that's what he
thing.
does for like. That's what keeps him alive. He says he's like, if I don't go, because he was a player when he was in his teens, in his 30s, 40s. So obviously he can't get anything, but it's stuck in him.
That's
So-
amazing.
Yeah, so he
Dude.
goes out, and then some of the lines he comes out I don't know
what
if
are
it's
they?
even. It's like, hey, come here. Do you want to date me? He'd be like,
Real subtle.
you don't have to look at my face. And he goes, I could wear a different mask, and you can choose anybody you want to be with, and I'll just wear
Oh my
it.
gosh. That's great.
Yeah.
That's good,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. So, but he,
hilarious.
I hope one day he gets.
He has nothing? He not working?
No, but I think his attitude's right. Like honestly, do you have any older Filipino uncles or titos or older grandparent age uncles that are single or they're divorced or they're widowed and they're
I have
still
a couple of titos who are married and are doing that.
they're married and they're cheating?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. How old
Yeah.
are they?
Probably like early 50s.
And they're cheating on their husbands.
No.
Cheating on
they're
their
titos.
wives.
Yeah, they're on their wives.
Oh, you got
Cheating on
titos that are in their 50s and are cheating on their.
Yeah. Are you less
Yeah.
surprised now?
Others.
No, I'm more like. Well, I'm sure. I'm kind of happy this podcast is not big yet because they would have found out from this. This would have
Probably.
this would have been the reason why your uncle divorced his wife.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
many
it's
of them?
crazy.
uncles?
Probably like a couple. This one uncle, he has like a real like prostitution thing. Like he's really into like hookers, like crazy into hookers. Yeah, he has like a network of hookers. He's not a pimp. He's like
that's
the
amazing.
consumer.
Wow, does he have enough money for that, or is he doing it in the Philippines with like $2 an hour?
Navy
$2 an
Navy
hour.
pension.
Oh, so he uses his Navy pension for pussy?
Yeah.
Man,
God,
you know
I'm
what?
kind of
the way you-
regretting saying all this shit.
No, you know what?
Hey, man, you're the power to edit. You got the power to edit.
No,
It's all
he's
good.
not
It's all
editing it.
staying in,
Why,
yeah.
why are you taking out the good stuff? This is what we need to do. So wait, how many of the uncles are cheating? All of them?
I have like two. I don't have many that are married and cheating. I mean, all the older titos are. Yeah, they're all doing that. Yeah, it's kind
Is
of
your
a
Uncle
given.
Charlie Sheen?
Charlie Shine. Call me Charlie Shine.
Shit.
It's more Red Horse and Emperador than cocaine.
You know, do you think because you've lived in the Philippines, when did you move to America?
2018.
You're lying.
No, I'm not lying.
You before 2018, you never set foot here.
No, I visited, but when I moved and lived, it was 2018. I lived for a year for the first time.
But you've been back and forth since you were a kid.
Yeah, since I was a kid, I stay here at most like a month. Yeah.
Where were you
in
before
a year.
this? Where were you before moving out here in 2018?
I was living in Subic Bay, and it's like a naval.
Oh,
it's an old naval.
yeah.
Do you know what it is? Do you know it?
Yeah, I talk about. I thought that was where you're from. I didn't know that you were living up to there recently, like in recent years.
Oh yeah, there. If I'm not living there, then I'm living in Manila. But those are the only two places.
Did you notice? Do you notice the difference between Filipino males there and Filipino males here? I feel like Filipino males in the Philippines run shit, and Filipino males in in Canada or US don't run shit, or they'll divorce because they can't run shit.
Well, I feel like a lot of the Filipino males in the Philippines, they're not with their wives sometimes because of like the overseas worker thing. So like they run shit and they cheat on their wives.
Right.
And then the Filipino males that are in the States, they can't do anything because, you know, their wives are there.
But even the way the misogyny is a little bit different. Like they're very, I'm not saying they are, but I'm saying the old school Filipino males are very like old school in terms of women too. Like
yeah, I'd say so.
And then when they come to Canada, it's kind of reversed. Like it's funny when any immigrant that goes to North America, they're like, wait, I don't have to take shit, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly,
but for some reason that doesn't click when it comes to government. They're like, I'm still scared. They might put me in jail for no reason.
I mean, the Philippine government's fucking scary, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, like when they come to North America, they still have that scared of the government thing, even though they're like, no, you can actually protest and demand stuff, and they're like, no, I don't want to get shot by the police.
Yeah,
and you're like, well, you could too. That's actually true, but it's different in the Philippines. In the Philippines, they're a little bit more scared of the government, and if they do protest, it's a big thing where they're like, we all could die today because there's a tank.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. I'm still scared of smoking weed here, just because of growing up in the Philippines.
Wow. So the only reason why it's shocking for me because you don't have a Filipino accent, and that's why I'm like, wow, you sound like you're from North America, but you still have the fear of the smoking weed from the Philippines. That's so weird.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's true.
So you still get paranoid when you're smoking weed here? That's amazing.
Yeah, not as much, but it's the base level paranoia is way more than anybody that grew up here. You know what I mean? Just because I've gotten almost arrested many times in the Philippines for weed. Never gotten arrested.
Oh, for weed. I thought for prostitution.
Yeah, for weed. No. I mean, no, not anymore. I mean, not at all. Not at all.
Oh my God. What's coming on here? A lot of the truths are coming out today.
To keep track of what we're talking about.
They sent you to America to straighten out your life.
Is that why you're here, Ronnie? No, your parents sent you here to straighten your life out, right?
Usually it's the other way around. They send you to the Philippines for discipline.
You know how like in the Philippines they kill you, right, for like smoking weed. Oh, they don't do that anymore. It's life now. But Duterte, when that first came out, if you were a civilian and you knew someone that was selling or smoking weed, you as a civilian could kill that person and you would get rewarded by Duterte. So stop smoking weed. Yeah, shit's crazy.
Damn.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is crazy. You can kill them?
As a civilian, you
and
can kill someone.
That was his war on drugs policy.
Yeah, you get like $300.
So that's still happening right now. Like you could actually do that right now.
No, I don't know if it's happening right now. I don't know.
That's pretty much.
It was like bounty. It was like a bounty hunter thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. For smoking weed.
For weed, dude.
Yeah.
For weed.
That was Duterte's drug policy. That was his like war on drugs.
So is your parents really against marijuana? Like they must be like, don't smoke that, you'll be dead.
Yeah, my dad Well, my dad has smoked weed in the past, but he's like, when we're in the Philippines and he catches me smoking weed, he's like, "You're a fucking idiot," because like you're gonna die out here. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm not a fucking idiot for smoking the weed. It's about the Philippines.
Yeah.
The act of smoking it.
It's almost like Singapore. It's almost like Singapore.
Yeah.
Singapore is fucked up. Yeah.
No, Singapore, you get death. You get death.
You get death.
It's still the last Asian city, I think country that still does punishment by hanging if you smoke weed.
Oh my gosh.
I did this one of the episodes. We did a random game, and if you have something like over 4 ounces, it's punishable by death. Like maybe that changed now, but in the last 5 years for sure. They actually really tell you on the plane when we used to remember, Justin, when we would fly to Malaysia. They'd be like, if you get caught with any kind of illegal drugs, it is punishable by death. And you hear this in the audience or all the people on the plane. Oh.
You know that form, the immigration form you fill out before you land? Like it says on there in big red letters, drug traffickers are punishable by death.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. And then we one of the bookers is Australian in Malaysia. The dude would light up a joint and walk around the streets, and we'd be like across the street going, "Dude, you're crazy," and he didn't give a shit. He's like, "Whatever, I don't care." I'm like, yeah.
No.
We should mention also that he's white, so
he's also white. So you know what's weird?
So
the privilege does work in a weird way overseas when you're sort of this white person that has a business that's working there. They can get away with a lot of stuff, I've noticed. But there's a lot of white people in Asia, especially Kuala Lumpur and Thailand, especially those places or Thailand especially, where they just live on the beach because they're tired of the hustle and bustle of North America life and keeping up with the Joneses. So they live on the beach, a little hut, and they're done. They're just like, you know what, this is a better life. A lot of the hippies do that in India, I see. When I go to India, I've noticed a lot of white hippies just walking around with their elephant pants, man.
That's so annoying, man. Seeing that shit.
Yeah.
Elephant pants.
It's
always like elephant pants. White girls at the airport wearing elephant pants barefoot for some reason.
That's disgusting.
At the airport is disgusting, dude.
You know what's funny? You go to Australia, a lot of people don't wear shoes. They just walk around the mall with no shoes. Remember that?
Dude,
that's some white people
on the
shit.
Streets.
It's
That's
Australian Australian white people / bush people.
Yeah,
that's what they call them. They live in the bush.
And our next guest is not white though. That's the stupidest transition. You know our next guest? He's so not white, and he wears shoes.
Unlike our guest, who's heavily Haitian.
Yeah, man, I'm excited actually for our guest today. He's I've known him since I started, and this guy he helps out so many comedians out. He's probably one of Russell Peters' closest friends too. He goes on the road with him a lot. He's one of his they're considered family too. And Justin, you've worked with him a few times too, right?
Yeah. Especially when I was starting out. I mean, he was already one of the vets, but like when I was starting out, he was, he always gave me some advice and pointers, Yeah. And he's always like nice about it. Like he'll never tell you that you suck, but he'll tell you what you can work on. So, and like sometimes the compliments are like not real compliments. Like I remember he told me, he's like, when I was starting out, he goes, "Yeah, man, you got good stage presence." I was like, "Oh, cool, thanks, man." And then I realized later that wasn't really a compliment. It was just that you sucked, and he was trying to be nice to you.
Actually,
that's how much of a nice guy he is.
He's that's true what Justin says. He's a really nice guy. But
when you're on stage, you're really on stage.
Yeah.
Basically,
really that's another compliment he says. That's another thing he says instead of saying that you suck. You were on stage today.
You were on stage today.
How'd you do? How did I do? You were on stage.
You're on stage.
That's the worst. Here, I would rather. You ever get this? You hear this? How's so and so? He's so nice. That's the that's your comedy. That's the compliment of comedy. He's so
what do you
nice.
think about this comic? Oh, he's a good guy. He's a nice dude.
Man, that's the worst. That's
but how is his comedy?
And then they
it's
walk
nice.
away. Then they turn around and sprint.
Yeah, because nobody wants to be the guy that like says, "Man, that guy sucks. Don't book him." Nobody wants to be in that position.
Yeah, and nobody wants to fuck somebody else's career, and that's the whole thing.
And
that's
money.
why they have to say he's nice because I would hate it if someone didn't get work because I said they sucked or whatever. Like I don't even say that to people I don't like. When people go, "How's so and so?" and if I don't like them, I'll say they're not bad. They're pretty good. I won't say they're great, but I won't say don't book them. They suck. I really can't because it already is so hard to do this. And then first of all, it's hard enough being Filipino, small dick, Filipino,
and magician,
comedian. Magician's even harder. You know,
no, Filipino magician. That's the worst.
That's unbelievable. Wow. Like,
I survived.
You know what? You didn't even notice this as a child because as children, you just go, "Oh, I just want to." It's kind of like this. No Filipino can ever audition for Superman. No. You'll never get it. There's no way. There's maybe in 10 billion years as a joke, right? They just made a black Spider-Man. There's a
black Little Mermaid now.
There's a black Little Mermaid.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, Filipino... Jokoy really is actually playing a villain in Anastasia, the live movie.
As a white guy.
Yeah, but he's playing a white guy.
He's playing like a Russian guy or something.
A Russian evil sorcerer, which he kind of looks like.
Yeah, when he's all done in it, like he actually can pass for one. He's white enough. I was going to say Letterman kind of had those not backhanded compliments, but he had those, like, I heard stories if you were on Letterman and he was trying to compliment you without like hurting your feelings. He'll say, like, if he doesn't think you did well, he'd be like, "Oh, the audience loved you." Like he won't say, "Oh, I think you're great." Yeah. Yeah, he'd be like, "Oh man, the audience loved you, man. Great, like great job." Like he does stuff like that.
Yeah, which is that his way of saying that I didn't like you that much.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, what is that waving thing again? I totally forgot what that. We're wrapping up.
Let me just wrap it up.
Do you know if Ruben's there yet?
No, but he's supposed to come in like 1 minute.
All right.
That's when he's scheduled to be here.
Okay. So what do we do now?
So we say, here he is.
And just say that?
Yeah, just say that.
And now welcome our guest for our third episode, Mr. Ruben Paul.
There you go. All right.
And I'll do the Arsenio Hall finger.
You can carry it.
Hey, welcome to Ron the World. Another episode. This is the reboot episode. So we've been doing it for almost a year now. And this is now a reboot episode. And our new guest, our special guest, oh my God, I can't believe we got him. I guess we can get him now because of COVID. Thank God for COVID, because you're always on the road. Ruben Paul, I call him the gatekeeper of LA, man, because when you go to LA the first time, you run into Ruben in first of all, he's the reason why I got into Laugh Factory. He called me up one day and he goes, "Hey, are you in town?" I happen to be in town. And I was like, Jim Masada is doing these new auditions, showcases for people that don't live in LA. And it's going to be in this new club in Long Beach. So you hook me up. You go, just have fun, which is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you the full backstory. It wasn't for people who weren't in LA. I convinced him because he just doesn't have time to go out and look for new talent. Like he's so busy nowadays than he was, I guess, back in the early 2000s and the 90s. So we just developed a good relationship, and then there was a lot of dope comics that I felt deserved an opportunity to be seen. So I convinced him to uh, do a showcase at Long Beach because he had just opened up the club. I think it had only been open about a year to
Mhm.
look at some guys. So it was I got like Ewan and Gerard Carmichael and
Carmichael, remember him was there.
Tony
Um,
Baker.
you got
So
Tony Baker in too?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So it was just. I mean, my thing is I always try to look out for people because you don't get far in this business without people looking out for you. And I'm fortunate to have some people look out for me, but I sometimes wish people would have looked out more. So I try to be the opposite of what people are.
Right. And honestly, when you do go to LA, you'll run into him, and one of the nicest guys you'll meet for a person that doesn't really have to be nice. You know, the last time I saw you, you put me. He had okay, the Rubee Tuesdays that you
Yeah.
started a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Was a hit right off the bat because you basically are the rarest comedian because most comics from LA are not from LA.
Mhm.
New York, a lot from New York. A lot of them are from Canada. A lot of them are from different parts of the States. You're actually
Exactly.
one of the only few comics I met that was born and raised in LA.
Yeah.
And when you come through there, you'll meet up with him. And he started a show because why not? You know the biggest guys.
Yeah.
You've been close friends with Chris Tucker when you put him on the show I was on. It wasn't
right.
Chris Tucker. It was who was it?
DL?
Sorry?
Was it?
No,
was
it
Chris
wasn't DL.
Tucker?
It was yes. Was it Tucker? Yeah, it was Tucker.
That was the Chris Tucker show. Yeah, I think I remember.
Yeah.
'Cause I
And
think
then he
Ron
gave you
was
this.
on that show too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and sold out. It's a party, man. Like if you go to Rubee Tuesdays, the DJ's killing it. There's a big lineup. Everybody is a cool. Like imagine a dance club audience that knows how to act in a comedy club.
Well,
Because-
first of all, comedy is first. Like most shows, sometimes you go to, comedy is secondary. It's the party that happens to be doing comedy, and it was important for me to make comedy the focal point. But the only reason why I started the room in the first place, like you said, I'm from LA, born and raised in LA, been doing comedy 20 years, and it was Jamie Masada's idea. He comes up to me, not with Rubee Tuesday. I came up with the concept. He was like, "Hey, have you thought of starting your own night?" And I was like, "Nope," because I didn't want the headache. And he was like, "Ruben, I just think it's a good way for you to raise your visibility." He goes, "You're one of the funniest comics I know, and it breaks my heart that you're not bigger." That's was his exact words, which was a hurtful compliment, but you take it for what it is. I know he meant well by it, and he just felt like people just needed to see me on a larger stage, and that once people saw me, then things would start to happen. So he encouraged me to start my own night, and that's what I did because most people who had their nights in LA were getting a lot of shit, whether it was like Chris Spencer or Guy Torrey or D. Ray Davis or anybody who kind of had their own night. But it was something that I never really wanted to do. And then when I decided to do the night, I wanted to make it different. I didn't want it to be, just another urban night. I wanted it to be about diversity because I've always worked all different types of rooms, from doing all the Asian invasion shows, doing all the Latino shows, doing the black shows, doing all the shows. So I knew all the best comics in all the rooms. So I said, why not do a night where I could bring all the best comics who work on all these different theme nights that I've worked over the years and put them all on one show. And that way everyone has a chance to get exposed to mainstream audiences because people are ignorant. People think that people don't have the capacity to like Jerry Seinfeld and Cedric the Entertainer at the same time. Like only white people gotta like Seinfeld and only black people gotta like Cedric the Entertainer or Bernie Mac. It's just like this hidden sickness and racism that we have in this business that we kind of just accept, which is ridiculous to me.
I love how you said there's a hidden racism within what the audience and bookers want too, because they're if you could be straight out racist on the streets, you could be straight out racist behind the stage. You know? And that's true. A lot of the bookers, a lot of people are like this. Hey, whether it's Ruben or me or whoever, why aren't you guys further than you are? Hey, you haven't been in my shoes yet.
Yeah.
And don't know what we as a race have to deal with. When you make it to the end, they go, oh, we already got an Eddie Murphy. We already got a Jokoy. That's what they actually say.
Yeah, because they think there can only be one at a time. And I just think the thing that really bothered me, I remember I was doing a military tour, and the booker called me and asked me, hey, man, can you refer somebody? And I was like, sure. So I referred a comic, and the comic just happened to be black. And he goes, he was like, we need a diverse show. And I said, there's already a white guy on the show, and there's already, a Latino on the show. Why if you add a white guy on the show would still be diverse, but if you add a black guy on the show, it wouldn't. And then it just harkens back to when you do shows. If you do a show at the Improv and there's 4 white guys and 1 black guy, they call it a diverse show. But if there's 4 black guys, if there's 4 black guys and 1 white guy, they call it a black show.
Damn.
And to me, that's a sick mentality to have where only white is considered diverse. Like you say, if there's 4 Asians and 1 black guy, it's an Asian show.
Yeah.
But if it's 4 white guys and an Asian, it's a diverse show. No, it's a fucking white show, man. That's what it is. Just really call it what it is. But the industry kind of conditioned us to think that way.
And your show actually is the only show I know in LA that's that diverse. Because honestly, you go to Russell Peters' show, you will see a really diverse Asian audience where there's East Indians, Pakistani, but then there's for your show, you have that plus Asians and black, right?
And white, Mexican, and white, everything. Yeah.
And at the same time, man, when you put me on the show, it's not a show that you could tread lightly on. You have to follow everybody on that show is a beast.
Yes.
So you put me after Taylor Tomlinson. She looks so cute and innocent, dude.
She's a mom.
It's so hard to follow her.
I just, a lot of people think comedy, like the bigger name you are, the better comedian you are. And that's not necessarily true. And I'm not taking any shots at any big name comedians because we know there's a lot of big name comedians that are great, but there's a lot of great comics who aren't household names who people might not know. So I wanted to just have a lineup with the best comedians, people that I thought were really, really, really good, and put them on one lineup. And I always say, if you don't do well at Rubee Tuesdays, there's really no excuse because the audience is there to laugh. There's going to be somebody in the audience that probably looks like you. Mm-hmm. So it's an even playing field. It's not an away game. It's not a home game. It's a neutral site, and that's what's so gratifying by the show. And then audiences discovering people that they normally never would see. So there's a lot of audiences who don't know who Rodney Perry is, or Corey Holcomb. They might not know who he is. Or black audiences might not know who Taylor Tomlinson is, or Andrew Santino, or whoever. So that was exciting to see the audience discover people that they had never seen before, Right. So I took pride in putting those type of lineups together, and always had women on every show also.
You also put on special guests like, when I was there, you had Tucker, and you also had Daniel Rawlings on, Darnell. And then Chris Tucker actually gave you a 5-minute thank you in the beginning by saying, I used to sleep on his couch when I first moved to LA.
I used to drive. I used to be Chris's driver. I was performing at
Wow.
So when I first started doing comedy, I was just doing all the local shows, and then one night, like you'd build up. It was called the Comedy Act Theater, where Robin Harris built that room. He passed away before I started doing comedy, but it was a very famous room. It was the #1 black comedy club in the country. And I started off there as an amateur doing open mics, and then when the owner thought you were like the best open micer, he'd have you host the open mic, and then you'd get to do 10 minutes before the main show, where D.L. Hughley would be the host on the main show. So I'm hosting the open mic, and I had heard about Chris Tucker being in Atlanta because they had a club in Atlanta, the Comedy Act Theater in Atlanta. And I get off stage from bringing a comic up, and Chris Tucker comes to me like, "Hey, man, you're pretty funny." I said, "Oh, thanks, man." He's like, "My name's Chris Tucker." And I said, "Oh, shit." I go, I've heard of you, dude. I've heard of you. And he says, "Yeah, man, you was pretty funny, man. Can you give me a ride?" And I go, I was like, "Yeah, I'll give you a ride." So I go get my car. He gets in, and I go, "Where am I taking you?" He goes, "I'm in San Pedro, man." I said, "San Pedro?" It was like 40 minutes.
That's way out.
So I didn't say anything though. I just was thinking that in my head, and I gave him a ride. And then the motherfucker just started calling me for rides all the time. So I used to just pick him up. And one thing that he says, when you're there is, I never complained and I never asked him for gas money. And it's just, it's just one of those things where, I'm not going to sit up here and go, I'm just this genuinely nice guy. Because he hadn't done Def Jam yet. He wasn't a star. He was just a cool dude. And I just thought it was weird how he approached me, asking me a ride within the first fucking minute that we met,
How's your relationship with him now? Like, do you guys still talk once in a while?
It's great. Like he came to do, he's done Rubee Tuesdays twice. And, we text every once in a while. He's mostly in Atlanta, but yeah, we stay connected. I run into him and everything. And it's I think it's a mutual respect. It kind of, to be honest, I tell Chris, I go, "Dude, you don't always have to tell people I picked you up and used to drive you." I've done some shit. Like, I have a career too, bro. Like, but the point he's just trying to make is, I guess, I'm just the type of person, like, I operate on like what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, and I try not to treat anybody differently, whether they're famous or they're not.
You don't. Like, you didn't know me from shit, dude. Like, really. And you were like, I got to get you on the show. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, why? And then when I got passed, I'm like, how did you knew I was going to get passed. Like, that's a weird thing. How you already know.
You're a good comic, Ron. And to me, I think it goes back to what I said before. Like, just because somebody's super famous doesn't necessarily mean, like, we're all like in this art form together. Like, we're all comics, and whether somebody is famous or not can be just the difference between opportunity. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's better than you, or just, it doesn't mean like just because somebody's famous that they're funnier than you. They just got an opportunity and they took advantage of it, and God bless them, they're able to capitalize on it. But a lot of us who've been out here, who've been funny for years, just sometimes haven't gotten the same opportunities, and
it is timing sometimes, right? Do you believe it's timing?
It's timing. And I think the people that I get along with, like even somebody like a Russell, I think operates where it's like, hey man, he feels fortunate to be in the situation he is. It's not that he doesn't think he deserves it, but it's just the fact that he knows, like, hey man, I caught a break. Like, you can't tell somebody how to become famous.
No.
If there is, I want to read that book on how to become famous. Now, there's books on how to become good.
Yes.
How to become better, how to improve yourself. But it's timing, dude, sometimes in life. And I've seen it happen. I've seen things happen for people, right place at the right time. And
many people you've seen.
Oh, absolutely. And I think a lot of times the reason why I have those relationships with some of these guys is I don't think they look at me. I'm sure some of them do, but I think most of them who have good relationship with, they don't look at me as being beneath them. It's just like, hey, bro, I caught the break. Hopefully you'll catch your break one day. But unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet, but it's, I believe that I'm closer than ever to getting the opportunity to do, things on a larger scale.
When you see someone that makes it that hasn't been in the game a long time, but has a big following.
Yeah.
Does that, for me, I go, okay, I get that. People like the person, but they don't have necessarily the comedic techniques and the skills to become a great comic. but they still have that draw. That's another thing that has nothing to do with talent, right? Or is that a different version of talent?
I just, to be honest with you, dude, like, it's hard. I think as comics who work our ass off and are on the grind, we have a habit sometimes, and we're human, of comparing ourselves to others. But I look at it like this. A lot of people get things and become famous who are comedians, but they became famous not because of their comedy. So you could be an open micer, but if you book a starring role in a movie or in a television show, you're going to get the opportunities. Does it mean that you're a great comic? No, it means that you did well in an audition and you're a pretty good actor, and now you'll be able to take advantage of the comedy. And I was saying this to somebody the other day. I think the thing that bothers guys like us is comedy has become a popularity contest and not a talent contest. When we first started, it was a talent contest. Like before you had to get an HBO special to get on a sitcom, to get in movies. Like you had to be a good comic first. Now they give specials to people who book a series and then they give them a special. Hey, how did that dude get a special? Oh, he's on that one show. Oh, he's on that show. Oh, he's on that show. So it affords them the opportunity to not masquerade. That's a harsh word, but it gives them the opportunity to flex as a comedian when it really wasn't their comedic chops that got them the special in the first place. It's the fact that they got booked on a TV show, they're a series regular or recurring role, or they're, had a starring role in a movie. So now, because they have that type of visibility, a lot of the industry is lazy and goes, oh, this person is on this show, let's give them a special. When before, it was all these no-name people used to get HBO half hours back in the day, back in the 90s, the 80s and 90s. These were club comics who had been destroying clubs for years. And then HBO saw them and introduced them to the world. These other people aren't getting introduced to the world. They've already made it as an actor, and now they're going, hey, guess what? I do comedy too. I'm really a comedian. So now they get the opportunity to showcase their comedic talent. And I think that's the difference is if you got to be popular now to get things, as before, the industry seemed to be more focused on creating stars and helping people build their brand. Now they want you already together. Shit, there's agencies now that want to know how many followers you have before they take a meeting with you and sign you. What does that have to do with stand-up?
Yeah, nothing. And I hate using the phrase it is what it is, but does that make you change the way you do comedy now? Because Ronnie is a new comic. He's been doing it for the last couple of years. His mindset has to be different from my mindset and has to be different from your mindset. Because when I started, it was still a contest of who's talented.
Yes.
Because there was no internet in 1995, so.
And I think now, I mean, you're we're going down the rabbit hole here. I think for Ronnie, he started when he starts. You know what I mean? I think the only thing he can do if he really wants to be good and really wants to be respected, I think with anything that you do, is you need to know the history of what you're doing. Like you need to know who came before you, who paved the way, who the good comics are. Like a lot of comics, they have no history. Like they have no idea who George Carlin was, or they never listened to an album, or they never listened to Pryor. They never listened to all the greats. They're basing their skill level on somebody who probably started doing comedy in 1998. And they look at that as the measuring stick when we're all chasing Pryor and Carlin to this day.
Right.
I haven't seen anybody do anything. I haven't seen a comic as prolific as George Carlin and Richard Pryor is today.
Right.
To this day. And if you have, I would like to know who they are.
There's this one guy in South Africa. No, I'm joking. There's nobody. I haven't seen. There's nobody. And you travel all around the world, also. Especially, we have a mutual friend. When he if you're not, whoever's watching this, he said the word Russell. Russell Peters is our close friend. He's basically Russell's big brother. He really is. And you've traveled with him throughout the world. I've worked with you and him many times. And what he did was kind of like the last person to blow up on the net. Like after him, there was Angela Johnson for a little, but nobody really blows up on the net through comedy. They blow up through other things now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then they decide to do comedy. When you, in your last 25 years doing comedy, 30 years, whatever, you've seen the game change so much. Mm-hmm. And do you think that because you're doing your own show, you actually were like, you know what, I got to change the game. I have to get myself a little bit out there. Did it make you change too?
Yeah, I think, if you're not trying to get better and you're not trying to evolve, like, what are you doing? And I think you always have to come back to your own personal reassessment of yourself on how you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish, what your goals are. I think you need to reassess that. And I think, it's people like Russell. To even flip it, Russell took me under his wing. Now, our relationship has evolved where, comedically, I'll collaborate with him like I collaborate with George Lopez and other people. But I think people, because I think of how I carry myself and conduct myself, like, I don't want to say I'm not the leader, but like you referenced him, like Russell, like I'm Russell. I look at him as we're almost the same age. When I go on
the road with you guys, and this is what I see, you constantly take care of his comedy, not his travels, not his bags. You take care of his comedy. You write down stuff and give it to him after the show constantly. And I'm like, what are you doing there? And you're like, no, sometimes he just talks and I have to gather some of the shit he makes up because he'll never do it again if I don't tell him.
Yeah. And I think with Russell, it's just weird, man. I met Russell in Hollywood at the Laugh Factory getting off stage one night. I had no idea who he was. I had never heard of him. And he was already hugely successful. But, LA, you could be in a bubble sometimes. And then the type of success Russell had wasn't really, quote unquote, mainstream success. So I had no idea who he was. And we just hit it off. And, he really encouraged me to talk about being Haitian because up until that point in my act, I never really talked about being Haitian because when I started doing comedy in LA, people had no idea what Haitians were. There was no Haitian community. It was a really tough place to try to do Haitian material. So, I did comedy for over 10 years without even with people not even knowing I was Haitian. And then me and Russell just kind of had a conversation. I had never been to Canada. He took me to Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal. And on the drive to Montreal, he goes, "You're Haitian, right?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "There's going to be a lot of Haitians in Montreal."
Oh, yeah.
And I go, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You should talk about it." I was like, "Dude, I don't have any Haitian material." Man. And he was like, "Dude, come up with something. You should at least mention it." And I went out and I just riffed something about being Haitian. It destroyed. And then he was like, "Dude, you need to do that." And Johnny Sanchez was another comic. So that kind of encouraged me to really change directions and really do what I instinctually wanted to do from day one. It's just when I started from day one, it was just no reference point. Because if you say Asian or Filipino, an image pops into your head. If you say Jamaican, an image pops into your head. If you say African, an image pops into your head. If you say Haitian, people are like, "Fuck is a Haitian?" And that's what I was up against. But now after the earthquake that happened years back, I think people are more familiar with Haiti, where it is, et cetera, et cetera. And then as far as Russell goes with the comedy part, I'm sorry, I'm going a long way to get to the point. But when it came to Russell, I think I just have a natural way of putting sets together. I don't know if that comes from education and schooling, but I think comedy should tell a story from beginning to end, even if you're just doing jokes. I think there's a way to put stuff together. So structure has been my strength in joke writing. So with Russell, it's more structure since he's kind of all over the place with his ADD and his crowd work and everything. And to try to figure out when he's working on a special, I was just able to go, "Hey man, this is what you need to talk about. This is probably how it should go." And we would just work on it that way and then help him figure out what he was coming up with. Damn it. what he was coming up with. This is live, huh? What he was coming up with. What he was ripping on was viable material. So when you'd see me after a show and he'd rip on something, immediately I go, okay, this piece could go here. You could add this to here, and then maybe write a couple of jokes, and then you form a cohesive set. It's hard to explain, but that's kind of what I ended up doing for a lot of guys.
Yeah, and I remember doing the Just for Laughs with you. We were both on. We had galas that night. You had it. I was on somebody else's gala. You were on Russell's gala, and this is Ruben before. Like, you have a set too, but you're working on his set, yes. And then you got to work on your set. And me and John Paul were like, "How is he going to do this?" And you're so calm about it because you're so used to it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you got to do. It's like even when I helped Tiffany, when Tiffany Haddish did her gala in Montreal, it's the same thing. It's just a part of the gig. And when George was doing his talk show, you got to be able to multitask and do things. And I think part of the issue in my career, and I don't regret one moment of it, is I have probably spent more time helping other people than focusing on Ruben. And that was a significant change that I made with the start of Rubee Tuesdays. Like, a lot of people call me like, "Hey man, can you help me put this set together?" And I'll only help like a few people, because even though I would want to help everybody, I just know if I want to accomplish the goals that I want to accomplish, I have to stop doing that. And I've had managers in industry go, "Yo, dude, I know those are your friends and everything, but you have a lot to give, man, and you need to focus on Ruben." And it's hard because I love my friends. Like, Russell's one of my closest friends. George Lopez is a close friend. So I've had to learn how to balance that and be more selfish, if that's the word, where I really have to take time. And even when somebody calls and asks me to do something, I go, "Hey, man, let me finish this, and then, we can talk after I finish this."
When you saw Gerard Carmichael, and again, you saw him very early. So what did you notice about him that was different?
Poise.
Oh, really?
I hadn't seen someone that young that poised.
Yeah.
And what I mean poised is, when you first become a comic, all you want to do is get a laugh. We're chasing the laughter.
Yes.
That's what we do when we come. We just want to laugh, and silence terrifies you.
Hell yeah.
As a young comic. Like, you don't want any gaps, you don't want any lulls, you want laugh, 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 laugh. That's, especially coming up in black rooms, that's what you wanted. You wanted to laugh every fucking 10 seconds if you can get it, or less. And when you develop as a comic, like, people always say, one thing people will say about me, you don't seem to ever panic. You always seem like you're in control. Like, even if, you know what I mean, you just stay in like in an even kill. Like, even if a joke that I know should hit and get an applause break and it doesn't, I don't let the audience know it. Inside, I'm going, "You got to be fucking kidding me, man. That deserves way more than that. They should be going nuts right now." But they're not. So you kind of just, go through it. And one thing I noticed about Gerard is he didn't seem too concerned about the audience reaction. And that is so rare. And I think a mistake that was made early on is people automatically compared him to Chappelle because he was young and black. Yes. And he's nothing like Chappelle at all. And that's no knock to Gerard, but that's not his style. But his poise is something that I admired, and the fact that he didn't seem. It took me a while to get to the point where I didn't care what the audience's reaction was. I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and he had that early on. So that's what I noticed and stood out to me. I see comics who've been doing it 20 years, as long as I've been doing it, and are still chasing the laugh and are still scared of silence.
That's funny. I've only heard it from Chris Rock and you that says, Chris Rock was saying in an interview saying, "I'm scared of silence. That's why he's so rapid fire." Mm-hmm. But eventually, like his last special, he slowed it down because he was like, "No, I'm there already. Why do I have to rush it?" But it took him how many years? Even after he was famous, he still was chasing it, even though he already was there.
Yeah. And I think every comic has their shtick, and shtick sometimes is a bad word in comedy, but every comic has their shtick, whether it be how they use their voice inflection, whether it's a physical movement that they have, whether it's the Dave Chappelle slap the mic on the leg, whether everybody has their thing to manipulate the audience to get them where Bill Burr has his thing. Everybody has it. And if you're a comic, but the good thing is good comics are good at hiding it. But if you're a comic, you can see what their go-to is when they get in trouble. Some comics, it's a laugh. They'll laugh at their jokes, so the audience will laugh at their jokes. Yeah. So there's all these, and there's nothing wrong with it. When I say every comic has, Chris Rock doesn't talk like this when you talk to him normally, but on stage, it's a tool that he can use to get what he wants from the audience.
So and Gerard had no tool? Did Gerard have one of those things?
Yeah, I think part of what his tool was early on was just to constantly slow down, take his time, and then what he would do would be these random segues. You know what I mean? He'd be talking about something, and then he'd go, punching a woman in the face would be, and then you're just like, what the fuck did that come from? You know what I mean? He was talking about whatever. You know what I mean? So everybody has their thing, whether it's a laugh, like I said, like, and people go, what does Chappelle go? Well, I mean, the slamming the mic on the leg, he's doing that for a reason. Why is he doing it? He's letting the audience know, I think this is funny. You should think this is funny too.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Other comics do it also. You know what I mean? Yeah. But then everybody has their go-to. I mean, I just love comedy so much, and I study it. And I think
you're definitely a student of comedy, because one time we did a show with Russell in Miami, and me, you, Dwayne Perkins, we were sharing a room because I got locked out of mine. And I was trying to hook you up with a Haitian gig too. And we're watching Seinfeld's return on Letterman. Mm-hmm. And you guys were like glued, like, wow, he's still a master. He doesn't care about, and he doesn't care about the silence. You know, that's one thing he has, you know, but you guys were talking about comedy like you were totally geeked out with me too. Like I was like, and you're so intricate in when you study comedy that when it's so easy for you and people that study comedy to see the tricks that comics use, whether it's to make them laugh or to get out of a hole. And Carmichael was one of those guys where you couldn't see it unless you watched it you're watching comedy for 25 years, because it was hard to see.
I remember one time George Lopez called me and asked me my opinion, and I went and met with him, and I was kind of going over things. He was like, oh, that's good. Good shit, man. Good. And I was like, dude, I learned all this from you. And I even learned from Russell. I learned from any comic, good or bad. And I just think maybe that comes from my sports background of coaching, wanting to be coached, and always just trying to study game film and try to find an edge. And I think that translated into comedy, where like when somebody gets a laugh, I want to know why the audience is laughing. Not just because it's funny. I want to know why they think it's funny. What's the psychology? What does it say about the person laughing at this joke? Now, was it the execution? Was it the writing? Was it the physical act out? Was it his voice? Was it how he said it? Was it a facial expression? What was it that made that work? And that's why sometimes when you're doing a joke from night to night, and one night the joke might not work, a lot of times it's your execution of the joke. It's not even the audience. It's like, oh, the reason why it's worked, because every time you do this joke, you always do this. You stop doing that. And you go, oh, shit, I forgot. I left that out. It could be one word sometimes that you leave out that changes the whole joke. It could be one facial expression. It could be one physical movement. And when you watch the pros, when you talked about Chris Rock earlier, people seeing pacing back and forth, but there's nothing wasted. Everything that he's doing on stage is deliberate, even if he's making you think that it's not. Even sometimes when comedians are doing improv, the audience doesn't know that some of this shit has already been rehearsed, but you still make it look like it's happening in the moment, that it's improv in the moment. So these are things that you realize after years of doing comedy. I don't have all the answers. Like I said, I still learn, I start with the love of comedy first, and then I take it from there, because I love comedy and I love comedians and I love seeing people be great. And anybody that I work with, this is the last thing I'll say because I could talk about comedy all day, is I don't judge anybody's comedy.
Mm.
So my job is this: if you came to me and go, Ruben, what do you think about this joke? I'm going to judge the execution of the joke, because whether it's funny or not, it comes from you. It's none of my business what you're doing on stage.
Right.
It's what my job is, to help you take that thought and deliver it to the audience in the best possible way. So
Right.
it's not for me to whether I think it's funny or not. That's why I could book Rubee Tuesdays. I booked a lot of comedians that I didn't think were funny, but I knew they were good.
Yeah.
Because funny is personal. That's why there's no such thing as the best comic. Because
Right.
for every great comic, I can tell you a comic that doesn't like them.
Yeah.
There's not one comic where everybody on the planet likes them. Period.
100%. Yeah.
So comedy is subjective. But what's not subjective is execution.
Mm-hmm.
Technique is not subjective. You know what I mean? So when I'm helping somebody, it's like, okay, Ruben, this is what I want to say. And the first question I ask is, do you think it's funny? Yeah, I think it's hilarious. Okay. Then once I figure out what the joke is, what the intent of the joke is, what the joke actually means, I help you deliver it so the audience can understand it, so they can enjoy what's in your head.
Does anything piss you off though about comics? Let's say for me, I hate when I see Asian comics talk bad about Asians in. I don't even mind if you talk about Asians, but if you do it in a way that's cheap,
Yes.
I hate it. And I can't judge them if they just start, but I can judge them after 10 years and go, look,
you're better
that
than
shit is So
well,
does that still get you when you see younger black comics do shit like that?
Yeah, I think what we're talking about, when you're talking about that, I think you're talking about hacks. Like, I don't support anybody who steals. Like, if you're stealing a joke, I don't care who you are, that's something that I can't support. I'd rather see somebody bomb being original than destroy being hacky.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking about cultural stuff, like, one thing that used to bother me when I was coming up and I would go to these these white rooms, and I'd see black comics shitting on black people, like, hey, put your purses away, saying shit like that. And, don't worry, I got some fried chicken in the car, like doing all this hacky pandering bullshit. I just think that goes to who they are, and I don't support that type of comedy. So when I'm saying that if I was working with somebody and that's the type of comedy that they did, I would make it. I couldn't help them with that, and that's my choice.
You just wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't say it. You just like, hey, do your own thing. It's not part of my life.
Yeah, it's not my place, and I would be honest with them and let them know, like, that's not my thing. But still, all in all, if they said, hey man, I'll give you $1 million, I could help them take that bullshit, but I would try to make that bullshit as original as possible.
Yeah. You phrased it so fucking hilarious. I would get that $1 million and change it and work on that bullshit.
It's so honest. That's why it's so funny to me.
Oh god. Have you worked? Has anybody paid you to fix their bullshit? Like, seriously, like.
Hey,
and then they're like, "Wow, this is gold. Thank you."
But here's the thing: we were talking about this earlier, dude. Like, how many comics have we seen that are doing great, but they aren't respected by their peers? Now, granted, everyone's going to have haters, but at the same time, good comics know good comics, and that's why comics have to be careful when audience members and people come up to them and ask them about other comics, and then they come like, oh, and then they just start shitting on the comic. I believe we're a fraternity, and that stuff needs to stay in-house. I never shit on comics publicly. You know what I mean? Like, even when Mencia was going through that, and an audience member would ask me about Mencia, like, that's a family conversation, man. That's not a conversation to have with a civilian, because no matter. Now, do I respect somebody who steals jokes like he did? Absolutely not. But it's not a conversation that it's not time that I'm going to spend shitting on somebody publicly. And I think sometimes as comics, we spend too much time focusing on why somebody shouldn't be where they are, taken away from the work we could be doing on our own selves.
100%. It's like wasted energy. That energy should go to something positive for the person.
Totally wasted, man. Totally wasted. Yeah. So to each his own. Like I said earlier, they're wasting time getting mad at somebody, and it's like, if that person stole to get to where he is, I don't respect it. But at the same time, I believe ultimately everybody gets what they deserve, man.
All the clubs that we play in LA, you're pretty much a staple in Laugh Factory. But have you wanted to do be part of the other clubs? Because you did Improv, obviously, you do Store, you do all of them. But is Laugh Factory your favorite club? Yeah,
my Laugh Factory is my favorite club for the simple reason, number one, it was the first club to welcome me in, and I think it fit my style in terms of the diversity of the club. And
then what's the difference between that and the other clubs, if you can break it down for us? Because
I think the Laugh Factory is the most diverse club in LA compared 100%. To the Store and compared to the Improv. I always looked at the Laugh Factory as mainstream. I looked at the Improv as, let's just say, conservative, and I looked at the Comedy Store as like grunge, and just how it was. And I'm sure it's changed over the years, but the Comedy Store is a very white room.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that, and I love a lot of the white comics who work there, but there's not a lot of diversity in the lineup, and you could probably count the black comics or Latino comics that work that room on a regular basis.
It's
not only is it white, it's very white male. Yeah. So, but I'm blessed enough to be able to work it, and I think, it is what it is. I don't begrudge anybody. I just know what I want to do, what type of shows I want to be a part of, the type of rooms that I want to start or showcase would be rooms that are inclusive of everyone.
I feel that the Laugh Factory, out of all the rooms I've been past, which is pretty much everything except Store, but I do play occasional Store for people that produce shows. I find Laugh Factory is the hardest because you have to follow comics that are destroyers more than, they're destroyers in the Store too, because they're playing all the clubs, but for some reason that 9:00 show, is it 9 to 10:30 is so fire, dude. Yeah. I haven't seen it anywhere else. It's just like it feels like there's a fire when you see the crowd. Like,
I don't know.
I seen people also bomb hard because it's hard to go after certain people.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know Alex Thomas, but he did a podcast. My podcast, and he was a regular at the Store first early on, and he looked at the Store more as a gym, as a workout, to develop, a great place to develop and be experimental and do these things. But he said he felt like the Laugh Factory was Yankee Stadium.
Dude.
And when he said that, I'm like, yeah, that's what you felt like. Like Jamie put this pressure on comedians, whether fair or unfair. I think it just depends on how you take it, where you felt like you had to destroy when you played the Laugh Factory. You felt like you had to kill. So that was, but for me, I like that type of pressure because I was following Dane Cook in his prime. I was following, Damon Wayans when he popped in. I was following, whoever the hot comic was, whether Chappelle would come in, and it was prime time and everybody was doing their A material because that's kind of what Jamie demanded on those weekend shows. Like, it wasn't a fucking workout, man. When you came in there, you had to bring it, and it was the best comics in the country, doing it.
Right. I always ask this question too. All the comics that especially play the Factory. What advice can you give someone to how to follow a killer act? Because I had to follow Dane Cook in front of a girl I brought. I don't bring girls to comedy shows anymore because any day of the week, fucking a killer could come in and make me look like shit. So before I was up, they go, "Hey, I gotta bump you." Or after Dane's gonna come up first, and you go after Dane, and just destroys. And the first time anybody follows a famous, also destroyer, is a totally different feeling than going after the killer headline from your fucking town. You know, that shit is a different level of cheering and energy. And when you go on, what do you do to follow that? Because I still try to figure the shit out.
I think it depends on your style, you know, and I think the mistake some comics make is if you're following somebody who's high energy, like Dane Cook, like let's use Gerard Carmichael as an example, since we talked about him being very methodical and slow paced. It would be weird to see him go up after Dane Cook and try to be high energy and loud and to try to match that. So I think ultimately you have to be who you are. I think for me personally, I think one of my traits is my likability on stage. Mm-hmm. So even I know I can always I know once when we're talking about shticks, people to manipulate that, I know my smile recenters the room. Whether it's after a good punchline or a bad punchline. When I go, when I just pause and smile, you can feel the room, you know, kind of loosen up. And then I came from a time where, I mean, I'm gonna be perfectly honest, dude. When I started working white rooms, let's just call them what they are. People try to say they're mainstream, but when I started working the white rooms, like the Laugh Factory, the Improv, the Comedy Store, I had no fear because I was working black rooms where you only had 5 seconds to fucking prove yourself.
Jesus.
And after, I had to follow Chris Tucker after he did the movies Friday in front of an all black audience. So
how did that
go? Let me paint this picture for you. I'd rather go up after Seinfeld and Rodney Dangerfield or any of these to go up after Chris Tucker.
Oh God!
After the movie Fridays was a hit in a black room, I can't think of a harder person to follow. And I've had to go up after Chris Rock before, and I've gone up after Chappelle before. Dude, we was at the Comedy Act Theater. Friday was a hit. Chris Tucker was already a star after Death Wish. So I'm about to go up, and Yvette Wilson, rest in peace, is hosting. Chris Tucker fucking comes in. And then Yvette comes up to me, she goes, "Ruben," she's like, "Chris wants to go on next." And I said, "Oh, hell no." I go to Chris, and I go, CT. He goes, "Hey, what's up, Rube? What's going on, man?" I said, Yvette told me you was going on next. "Yeah, man, I just want to go up real quick and I want to get out of here, man." I said, "CT, man, I'll do it." "Oh, come on, Rube. You know you can handle it. You know you can. You're good. You'll be fine." So Yvette comes up to me. She grabs me by my arm. She's like, "Rube, you'll be fine." So Yvette goes up and she goes, and this place is jam-packed. It's like 350 people. It's fucking packed on a Saturday night, dude. It's jam-packed. Chris is not even booked on the show. That's how hot the room is. So Yvette goes up. Yeah. She goes, "Hey, y'all." She said, "I got a special guest." So the audience, you could feel like the murmur in the room because anybody would show up at the Comedy Act. Any black star would show up at the Comedy Act. And she goes, "I got a special guest." And she goes, "You've seen him in the movie." As soon as she said FRI, it absolutely spoke. She goes, "You've seen him in the movie Fridays. Give it up, Chris Tucker." Everyone stood up. The whole room stood up. So Chris is going. The audience is fucking clapping and cheering. The mic is in the middle of the stage. Chris has on a leather jacket. He has on his black hat to the side. And he starts doing Michael Jackson and shit. The fucking room is going. He hasn't said one word. So he's doing like all this shit. And dude, like a consummate performer, dude, this motherfucker leans into the mic and goes, "I'm pissed off, man."
Def Jam.
Fucking club goes crazy, dude. Then he goes, sit down, sit down. He takes off his jacket, he puts it on the mic stand, and he begins to beat that fucking room up for 15 minutes and gets another 2 or 3 standing ovations.
Jesus Christ.
So after he absolutely massacres that room, dude, and I'm talking about he's doing If Michael Jackson Was a Pimp. He's doing,
oh my God.
He's doing going through the drive-thru at the McDonald's where he goes, how come they got one window where you give them the money, and then the next one where you get your food? Nigga, I don't know you. Same time, nigga, same time. I give you my money, you give me my food. I give you my money, you give me my food. I give you my money, you give me my... Like, man.
Dude, your impression on him is ridiculous.
Like, he's fucking... Like, you know, I've been in the game like 25 years, bro. I've seen everybody. I have never seen somebody, and maybe somebody go, you just saying that because you had to follow him. Fuck that. I've damn near seen, I've seen Dane Cook fucking get 2 standing ovations. I have never seen somebody obliterate a room like this, dude. Jesus. So he gets off, hot fucking 15, destroys the room. He gets off stage. You could hear, this is what you hear in the room.
Oh, God.
That's terrible.
You just hear everybody fucking trying to catch their breath. That's how rapid fire his thing is.
Oh.
So, dude, that goes up and she goes, are you guys ready for more comedy?
Holy shit.
Oh, God.
Are you guys ready for more comedy? And they're like, yeah. The only person who could probably have followed that would have been Martin Lawrence with Jesus on his lap. Dude, she introduces my name, dude. There was a pause, and then everyone got up and left.
Oh. Shit.
So here's what I need you to understand, because I don't think people who've never done comedy can understand this. So once they called my name, it took me about 3.5 minutes to even get to the stage. 4 minutes to get to the stage. So you guys who are listening to this, take out a watch and watch 3 minutes. That's a long time. Because everybody is walking out the club, and I have to excuse me. And dude, that room went from completely sold out to maybe 30 people in the room spread out.
And it fit what, 400 or 300 or something?
It was I think the Comedy Act hold 250 or 300. Right. It was packed. And by the time I got on stage, dude, there was no one left in the audience, and you had to do your set at the Comedy Act Theater.
How much time did you have to do?
Wow. I think I had to do 15.
Did you do the full?
Oh, I don't think you understand. You had to do your time at the club. It was no bitching out. It was no punking out. You had to do. So I went up there and I ate my ass for 15 minutes, and I got a couple laughs here and there, but I just went. I literally just went on after a fucking comet hit the room, and. So when I went, fast forward, I'm working the Laugh Factory, and this is no offense, because Dane Cook was a fucking monster in his prime. Yeah. That Harmful to Swallowed era, all that shit. When he was as hot as that was, as electric as that was, it fails into comparison being in a black room with Chris Tucker after a cult hit movie Fridays was hot. And had to follow. Wow. So I've never been afraid to follow anybody after that, because in my head I go, "There's not I can't imagine. I can't imagine a worse situation, a harder person to go after, especially at that time being a young comic and nobody knowing who I am or anything like that. So
how long did it take you to get over it?
I got over it quickly, man, because everybody knew. It was just yo, dude, people congratulate him, yo, man, I don't know if I'd have went up. People say that. I done ran out the back door. Man, shit, I couldn't believe it. Like, people were saying stuff like that. And I just think I learned a lesson that night. I think it made me not afraid to go up after anybody. And I'm not saying every time, like, usually when I go up after somebody, I'll kill right after they kill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not saying it happens every single time, because there are times where the audience is exhausted or whatever the case may be, but I'm never afraid or intimidated to go up after anybody after that. So ultimately the advice I would say is, you know, you got to reset the room, however that is. When somebody else just destroys the room, it's how you choose to reset it. Some people go right into their material. Some people, sometimes it depends on what mood I'm in. If somebody is like, if I don't feel like being high energy, because the thing with me, I don't feel like I have one style. I'm pretty like medium pace, but sometimes I can get a little physical. Sometimes I can stand in one space. I'm like, I can shift
And you
gears.
can riff. I see you riff for 15 minutes straight off the bat, man. Like that's something that I didn't know you could do. But just like MMA, you could do ground fighting, you could stand up, you could do jujitsu. Like, you actually have a lot of tools that I never saw since you did your show. Your show allowed you to show the different qualities and weapons you had. Yeah, the skill set was unreal. Yeah, because you and Dwayne Perkins have that. You guys are really smart when it comes to comedy. So you have a lot of in your tool belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think for me, it's funny now because I never did crowd work. Because my whole thing is, you got a 20-minute set, man. I don't want to fucking talk to the crowd in 20 minutes. I just want to do my material, because I always wanted to prove to the owners and to the bookers that I had material. So I never did crowd work. So I didn't start doing crowd work until 11 years into doing comedy. And it's funny now when people see me, like just this past weekend when I was in Arizona, you know, the owner was like, yo, man, your crowd work is fucking killer. I didn't even know. I go, I don't do it all the time. You know, I know it's in my back pocket. I know I can do it whenever I want to do it, but I don't rely on that. You know, I don't rely on crowd work. To me, it's about the material. And then the crowd work is just extra. So what I try to do is, if I'm in the mood of doing crowd work, I'll do it, but I still weave in and out of material. I just won't just sit in the crowd work forever. You said
that you didn't want to do crowd work because you want to show the material. And I know when I started, everybody was like that. Yeah, you know, don't do crowd work because they want to see material. It's kind of changed today. Like a lot of people want to see it. Like it's actually part of your act now. Like people want to see it. Like, do you think it's a thing now that it's part of your act? You have to learn that. You have to know it.
You know what? I think it's a detriment because take Russell Peters out of the equation. How many comedy specials have you seen where someone's doing crowd work?
Right. Yeah.
If
anything, it's a couple jokes and that's it. A couple people.
Stand-up is about getting on stage and having something to say for 45 minutes to an hour, and hopefully it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And crowd work is just bonus. So if I was coaching somebody, if I was telling somebody, I go, dude, get the material strong, because what would happen when me and you were coming up, if you were at a club and you wanted to get bumped up to headliner, the club would be like, all you do is crowd work. I don't even know if you have the material. You got to have more than 45 minutes of material if you want to headline. You know, the rule is if you want to headline at 45, you need to have at least an hour and a half worth of material. So my thing is, whenever I feature, and plus I work with George Lopez. George Lopez is like, don't talk to the fucking crowd.
Right.
These motherfuckers came to see us. They didn't come to get interviewed. He was very strict like that. He's like, these motherfuckers came to get for a show. Give them a fucking show. You go up there and do material, man. And then what you learn later on, he goes, I want you to do your material because I don't want these motherfuckers yelling out when I'm on stage, because I'm here to work, bro. He'd tell me that. I'm here to work, man. I'm not here to fuck around, man. And I learned that kind of vibrato from him. Like, George is all business when it comes to stand-up, dude. Like, and I think he's an underrated comic, man. And I just think I learned so much from watching him. I've never seen a comic set change more from night to night than his, because he would record all of his sets. And then he would listen to his sets and tag his own sets. So when you saw him the next night, that joke that you heard the night before now has an extra minute. You're like, fuck, you know, because he's working on his act and he's constantly in the green room. Even to this day, when we're in the green room, he's always taking notes. Hey, you got anything for me? And I go, oh, you know, when you say, all right, I'm going to try it next show. Next show, he's fucking on it, doing it the next show. And that's the type of comic that I wanted to be, somebody who works hard. My thing I always say, I wish I had somebody like me to fucking be with me. So when I get off stage, be like, bro, do this. Man, when you do this, man, I wish if you did this joke here and then did that joke there, like those are the type of things that make your act stronger, that make your act better. And people look at comedy as a solo sport, and it is. But all the great comics always had somebody that they collaborate with. That's why
it's like a coach. You kind of are a comedy coach, and it's rare to find that in this industry because you're alone. You're always this Ronin doing your own thing. But we need, if professional athletes and people that have management or actors, why can't we have a personal coach to help us in comedy? We don't have. We have to figure it out ourselves. But you are one.
We do have them, dude, but they're secrets. They're dirty little secrets in comedy because we all want to give off the impression that we do everything by ourselves. Like we had no help. But if Richard Pryor and George Carlin and all these people can have people that they collaborate with, who the fuck are we? Like Kevin Hart is like the only one who will let people know that he has people he collaborates with, and Russell and different people. But there's not a great comic that I know that even Chappelle has people that he collaborates with. Like to sit up here and think that, well, put it this way. If there's a comic that does everything by himself with no input, he probably sucks.
Right.
Doesn't mean that he's not famous, but as a comedian, sometimes you need another eye and a different perspective. How many times have you gotten a tag from somebody you don't know or somebody or another comedy friend? They go, hey man, have you ever thought of saying this? And you go, yeah, that's all a part of it, dude.
Yeah.
When Russell goes on these shows, man, and I always thank him for it, like he always gives me a shout out. Like, hey, when I'm putting my set. Now, people think comedy collaboration is here, I'm writing these jokes for Ron Josol, and Ron, you say these jokes. That's not what it is, man. No one's really doing that. No comedians having another comedian write their act for the most part. It's just all collaboration. Like, hey, Ruben, this is what I was thinking of talking about. And then we'll sit, we'll talk and go, hey, so we'll peel back all the layers of what you want to talk about, and then we'll put a cohesive set together. But it's all going to come from your heart, and I'm just helping you put it together and maybe giving you tags here and there.
Well, here's our last part of this show. We all give you random questions because we all want to know whatever we want to ask you. We're going to throw basically like skeet shooting, like 2 questions each, JedRocks will start and then after this, and then we're done. But amazing having you on, but we're going to just ask you a couple random questions that we are interested in finding out. Okay, go ahead, Jed.
Yeah, just one sec here. I'm going to play the song. Yo. What's up, Ruben? How are you?
What was the question?
Jed,
I was saying, how are you doing?
I'm good.
We never got a chance to say hi, but a question that I want to know about you. It's a music question, of course. Golden era of hip hop. Who is your favorite artist? And my second question: what kind of music do you listen to inspire you to write?
Oh, great questions. Well, before I answer your question, what do you consider the golden era of hip hop?
Late 90s, early 2000s, or the 90s hip hop.
Okay, which is fair. I would say Jay-Z for a lot of. I don't think he's necessarily the best lyricist, but he's my favorite for a lot of different reasons. And I'll just give you a couple of them. One, just the fact that he was self-made, where he just came from where he couldn't get a record deal, so he did his own shit. And then the consistency to have hits and still stay street is really hard. It's hard to be commercial and hood at the same time, and he was able to do that.
Nice.
Justin,
sorry. You have any more questions?
What kind of music do you listen to get inspired to write?
It varies, dude. Obviously, like I love hip hop. I mean, I'm a hip hop head, man. Like, Black Thought, I think is probably, you can make an argument that he's probably one of the best lyricists of all time. Just skill wise, he's just a monster. But it just depends on my mood. I'll listen to hip hop. I'll in a weird way, I'll listen to classical music sometimes, like movie scores, because that type of music elicits images, and I'm a visual writer. So what I'll do is a lot of times I'll dream my jokes and then I'll get up and write them because I'll imagine me performing them and how they would go, and then I try to execute them that way.
Nice. Justin, you got anything?
Yeah. So you were born and raised in L.A.
Yeah.
Did you ever ride the baby blue van?
Did I ever ride the baby blue van?
Yeah. Did you ever ride that back in the day in LA?
No. What was the baby blue van? I ain't even heard of that.
Was
that some Filipino Mexican shit? Because I ain't even.
It was also referencing that one song by Warren G. Here comes the baby blue van, time to ride. It was that one ride. Like it kind of picked up all the kids to go to the rec center. We all would like play like baseball on the blacktop or whatever. I don't know if you never. No,
so where I grew up, I grew up with the RTD bus, which was we called the rough, tough, and dirty, or the rough, tough, and dangerous. Yeah. RTD bus system. But the neighborhood I grew up was pretty insulated. I grew up in Delama, 190th and Wilmington and Carson, which is over by Cal State Dominguez. But the area of Delama, what I grew up in, was a black suburb. And we had parks and everything there. We had our own gangs and all our own shit there. So it's very rare we ventured out unless we were competing against somebody athletically, like a baseball game or a football game or something. But, the thing that I think was special about my neighborhood is we had our own elementary schools and junior high schools and parks and everything all in one area.
Were there Samoan gangs in that area?
Well, the Samoans weren't too far away, but yeah, we used to have to go deal with the Samoans sometimes, which we didn't want to do, but yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's all I wanted.
What was your sport growing up? Did you like to play sports, or if you had a sport, did you play it?
I played football in high school and in college, and then I played baseball. I thought I was going to be a baseball player, bro, because I loved baseball and I was good in it. And then a friend of mine dared me, because if you didn't play football, I ain't going to tell you what they used to call it. But
I get it.
It rhymed with rag.
Hatchet. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So. So there was like, man, how come you don't play football? How come you don't play football? And I had never played organized football. So when I got to high school, I went out for the team, and my team, the high school I went to, had the number one football team in the entire country. And I fell in love with football on a deeper level when I started playing with it. I've always been a sports head. Like I'm an encyclopedia of like baseball, football, basketball, baseball. You know what I mean? Like I know stats and numbers and players and all that. And then I started playing football and fell in love with actually playing.
What position did you play?
I played safety and corner.
Oh, nice. Defense.
Nice, man.
Yeah, defense. Absolutely.
What was your last physical fight with someone?
Oh, man.
Was it at a comedy club?
I wanted to slap the shit out of a lot of comics, but it's been a minute, probably, I don't know, probably like 10 years ago. Like I always say this, I never, Ron, you're a fighter and you could probably agree to this. Like you're more of a badass than I'll ever be. I'm more of a street fighter. You're fucking trained. But I'll say this, like anybody who's fought, like I fought a lot growing up. So when you understand what it is to brawl and to fight, you never really want to fight. Like that's your last fucking, So I always say this, dude. I'm not a talker. A lot of people, especially in this industry, and a lot of dudes, they love to talk and flex and put on a show. I don't do any of that. But if you're ready to fight, we can do that all day, every day. It's my last resort.
And you have the street. The street's a totally different level of fighting because there's no referee. So
no referees, and like a friend of mine said years ago when he was about to get jumped, he was like, "Are you guys sure you want to do this? Because somebody's gonna die tonight."
I'd be scared to fight that guy.
When he said that, the whole dynamic, everybody went to negotiations after that. Man, whatever. We see you again. That's what I thought. But I'm not a fighter, but I will defend myself, and
Right.
I don't tolerate disrespect, man. I think everyone deserves, human decency, and made mention earlier that I'm a nice guy, et cetera, et cetera. It's just how I was raised, man. I just believe
Yeah.
that, it's just like in school. My teacher used to say, everybody starts out with an A, but you're going to earn
Right.
your grade. And I give
Right,
everybody respect until they,
Disrespect.
till they, do something where I don't respect them anymore.
Yeah. Ronnie, as a new comic, do you have any questions?
Yeah, actually, you were talking earlier about being okay with the silence, or being okay with not getting the reaction you wanted, and you mentioned that you made that switch where you figured out that you're okay with it. But I was wondering what got you to make that what was the transition, the thought process that got you to being okay with it?
Well, for me, I think, like I was saying earlier, and Ron can attest to this, is like when you first started, you too, Ronnie, like right now, you just want laughs, dude. Like you just want to go up on stage and have a good set and get as many laughs as you possibly can while you're up there. I think when you start really having something to say almost becomes more important than getting the laughs. Now, when I say almost, because when you get to a certain level, you expect to get laughs. So that's not even a criteria. Like, okay, laughs is just the foundation. Like, I know I'm going to get laughs. Now, what am I going to do with these laughs? What type of laughs do I want? Are they laughing with me? Or are they laughing at me? Are they what? How am I controlling the scenario? How am I controlling the narrative of what I want to say? Because Ron, ultimately, I hope when you get on stage, there's a point that you're trying to make to what you're saying. And once you get to that point, that becomes your focus. And for me, that was the first part of the shift. And then knowing my tricks of what I would use to get laughs, sometimes slowing down worked for me. Like if a room was too noisy, like some comics would tell you, instead of yelling, speak softly into the mic. Because if you speak like that,
try to listen to you.
what he said, I can't hear him. You know what I mean? Right. So that's a way to quiet him down. So you just learn these things. But I would say this. I remember doing a set one night, and D.L. Hughley was the house MC at the Comedy Act Theater. And I remember having a killer set, but there was one table that fucking just stared at me like I was the worst comic that they'd ever seen. Now, I'm killing. So I get off the stage, and D.L. goes, he introduced the next act and comes to me. He's like, damn, Rube, good set. And I go, man. He goes, what? You fucking destroyed. I go, yeah, man, that one table to the right, man, they weren't laughing. He's like, nigga, everybody ain't gonna like you. And he said it so pure, and it really resonated with me. And I still didn't figure it out at that point, but it did resonate with me. Like, wow, everybody doesn't have to laugh for me to be good. You know what I mean? So that was like the first seed. And then later on, I kind of figured out that when you're on stage, you're literally trying to find your audience, the people who are going to come see Ronnie. Like everybody's not going to like you. And everybody's not going to like Ron. Everybody's not going to like me. Everybody's not going to like Dustin. Everybody's not going to like Jed. You know what I mean? So it's just about, I think when you reach a level of being a draw or fame, it's people pay money because they like what you do. That's when it becomes a home game where everybody in the audience likes what you do. I think now, as we're all coming up, they're all away games because we're still trying to win people over who kind of resonate with us. So that's why when you keep going back to towns, hopefully your crowd starts growing with people like, oh, I like this guy. I like what he does. Then after a while, the whole room will be filled with people who like what you do. But I think you got to be authentically who you are so you're getting the right people. If you're up there trying to be somebody else, and then one day you decide to be yourself, then the people who liked you being somebody else are going to be like, what the fuck is that guy doing? Like, this is actually really me. Like, we don't like that guy. We like the guy you're pretending to be. So ultimately, I think you have to be yourself and kind of take your time and have confidence that what you're saying is funny. And that, like, I always feel like this. If somebody's not laughing, I know a punchline is coming that's going to make them laugh.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like that. So I don't really panic. I just know that, okay, maybe they didn't think that's funny, but I needed to say what I said there. Right. Sometimes it's important to make a statement and say what you need to say, for the jokes.
Yeah, that's something that I've figured out maybe 15 years in. It's like
it took me a while too, dude. It took me a while too.
Yeah.
But my thing is I like to help comics. So Ronnie, how long have you been doing it?
Less than a year.
Yeah, so if you could learn it at 5 years, see, most people are like, man, it took me 20 years to learn it. It should take him. Dude, I'd be happy if you learned that at 2 years, dude. Imagine how good you'd be if you could learn that now, start executing that now,
Totally.
My last question before we wrap this up would be to Ruben.
Well, thank you, by the way.
Thanks for
thank you.
Everybody here's a different POV. We got a new comic, a DJ, a magician. So it's always a different mindset. Who besides Russell Peters, because we both know we're close friends, and who would also be one of your close friends in comedy who helped you?
That's a loaded question, bro.
It is. So let me.
I would just say this. No one's responsible for Ruben Paul's success but Ruben Paul.
Right.
So I don't expect people to help me. I don't expect people to do for me what I might naturally do for them. I learn from people through example. So like I said, I've learned a lot from Russ. I've learned a lot from George Lopez. He is a big brother and he's tough love. You know what I mean? Yeah. And most of the things that I learned from him is literally by watching him. And that's why as a comic, I don't think you should study people's jokes per se and what, because you can get, unneeded influence that way. But I do think you can learn things by watching comedy, and I had a front row seat, that's an expression. I'm in the back of the room, but I had got a chance to watch him night after night after night after night. And you're talking about one of the biggest comics in the world. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So to be able to watch and learn and to see how people put things together, whether it be Chris Rock, whether it be George Lopez, whether it be whoever, you could learn something. So as far as comics who've helped me, I think anybody that I've come into contact with have helped me. I appreciate the relationships. I think sometimes it's friends and family like, man, how come they didn't put you in that movie? Or how come they didn't put you on that TV show? Or how come they didn't do that? And yeah, I think if you're human and sometimes you think that, but I'm not a person who asks, I have immigrant parents, man. Do everything on your own. Don't ask anybody for help. You could do it yourself. And that probably might have hurt my career sometimes. So I can't be mad at people for shit I didn't even ask for, Right. But I still believe there's certain things you shouldn't have to ask. Like if I see you with holes in your shoes, I'm not going to say, hey, Ron, do you need some new shoes?
Yeah.
Yeah. But some people are like that. Some people are so into themselves that they probably don't realize that they can make a difference in people's lives. I want to make a difference in people's lives. I mean, my thing is like I have this new show with Godfrey that that's on LOL and hopefully we'll be getting a series pickup soon.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you, man. But the thing that excites me and Godfrey is, it's an opportunity for us to shine, but it's an opportunity for us to employ other comics, to give other comics opportunities to be on a show, to work. Yeah. But not everybody thinks like that. And you can't be mad at people when they don't think like that. A lot of times it's out of sight, out of mind. And, I'm not going to sit back and be bitter that, people who made it didn't come back and get me.
Right. Dude, man, that was an amazing podcast episode. A lot of great advice and information.
Gems.
Again, you made a difference in my life for getting me into the factory. When I got in the factory, honestly, that's when I started getting actual real world work because people saw me in the audience. Like it's one thing to get into a club, but your friend, you really walked me in there because it's so hard to get in that fucking club.
So Ron, you got to realize something, man. I think, people. I was in a clubhouse not too long ago, and people were talking about mentoring. And do you go to comics and ask comics to mentor you? I think a lot of times the bigger comics seek out people that they want to mentor. And not that I mentored you in any way. I mean, we're on the same level, but when I see somebody who's good, like I'm attracted to originality and just freshness. You know what I mean? So when I see something that's different, that's what I'm bringing to the owner. Like, yo, man, this is something that the club can use. There's no one in the club that's like Ron Josol. There's no one in the club that's like Gerard Carmichael. There's no one in the club like Dominique. There's nobody in the club like Tony Baker. There's nobody in the club like Johnny Sanchez. There's nobody, you know what I mean? Like, I think comedy, we were talking about hip hop earlier. The thing that I loved about 90s hip hop, or even hip hop before that, everybody was fucking different. Soon as you heard the voice, you knew exactly who was rapping. You knew exactly what group it was. Now you hear a song, it could be 5 different motherfuckers. Like, who's that? Oh, was that Future? Or who was that? Was that like?
It's all nasally mumbling.
Yeah, everybody.
That's all it is nowadays.
Yeah, and I think comedy, everybody really had a different voice. Everybody was different. You know what I mean? Richard Pryor was different than Carlin. Carlin was different than Seinfeld. Seinfeld was different than Rodney Dangerfield. Rodney Dangerfield, like everybody, like was different. And I think that's what's dope about comedy is like if we're all individuals and all ourselves, then we're adding to the palette of comedy. You know, I hope there's no one like Ruben Paul, just like there's no one like Ronnie or Justin or you in comedy. So we all have our own lane. That's why I don't look at myself competing with anybody. I just want to be the best Ruben Paul popular. And I start off?
That's why you're still killing it, man. I have to tell you straight up, you're still killing it. You've been grinding for 25, 30 years, and now you finally got an amazing show that will be back up when people get their shots. And I'm actually gonna go back to LA for a couple of weeks. I'm gonna say hi to Russ. I'll give you a link, and we could have some dinner, man. That'd be great to see you live again.
Are you in Toronto right now?
I'm in Vancouver. I just went up north just until shit gets better, and I'll come back to LA when it's a little safer, you know. But thank you so much for doing this, bro. I really appreciate it. It's amazing.
And they said, if you still want to come to Florida, you're more than welcome. And my mom said, sure, why not? They want the story of the rundown. Whoa. Oh, that's stressing at me rundown. Whoa. Whoa. They want the story of the rundown. East to west like sundown. Money, drugs, and diamond rings. We get too high to come down. Get too high on love now. Checking once a month how you been doing, how you moving, finally been enough now.
Oh, nice. Who's that? Who's that?
Same dude.
Dude, that's
Same guy.
I love
Is
how
it
he
Toronto?
gives us all his tracks.
No, he's actually from here, Vancouver, but he's originally from Kenora, Ontario. It's like 8 hours north of like Toronto.
What's his name again?
I like that track.
His real name is Justin, but they call him Mizzy.
Oh, nice. So
Yeah, 'cause his last
I'm
name's
happy with
Mizzy?
that.
Yeah, his last name's Mejia, and it just turned Mejia into Mizzy, and that's all it was.
Nice,
Mizzy.
nice.
That's dope.
That was a fun podcast, man. I like what you said,
Yeah,
Justin. He kind of brought us back to that LA memories I have. You know,
Starting out, because I remember starting out in comedy and seeing Ruben a lot because he would do all the rooms he was talking about. The black rooms, Latino rooms were pretty much where I started in too. And like he would just destroy, man. Like his riffing, I forgot how good his riffing was. That's how long it's been since I've seen him. But I remember one time he was at where we did a show at the Melrose Improv, and the last comic bombed, and he would riff on the last comic who bombed. Like the last comic did this closer, this huge act out that didn't get any laughs. So the last comic did this thing where it was like he'd be like he did that clown music like that was his closer, and it didn't get any laughs.
Was it Clown?
No, it wasn't Clown. It wasn't Clown. It was some other like white comic. But he did this huge act out, and he was singing the clown music. It didn't get any laughs. He's like, "All right, this is my time." He gets off. Had a terrible set. Ruben gets up. He starts doing crowd work, And then he's talking to the guy in the front row. And he's like, "Hey, so what do you do?" And the guy goes, I'm a toy maker. I build toys. And then Ruben goes, "Hey, you should hire the last comic to write music for your toys." Dude, everyone was dying. I was laughing so hard, extra hard, because the other comic was in the back next to me. And everyone was just, dude, he felt like that other comic felt like even more shit. But it was just so funny he was just so fast and kind of connected things. Like, he was riffing on callbacks from the last act. You know what I mean? Like, it was insane, dude. Yeah, he's amazing, man.
He was dropping gems left and right.
Yeah. What gems did you like?
So, man, there's so many. Like, a lot of just the technicalities of just being on stage and doing it for so long. Obviously, he's really, I mean, even like we was talking about George Lopez and how like he listens back, how George listens back every night, and then he's tagging himself on those, and then the next night he's gonna have another minute. And he took a lot of that from George, and you know that's how you know that like this guy he's not fucking around.
Yeah,
you know?
man.
When I was the last time I saw him, like I was talking to him about doing his show Rubee Tuesdays, and dude, it was just the hottest show at the time, like before COVID. So it was packed. I don't know if you've been there, Justin, on Rubee Tuesdays. Have you been there on the Rubee Tuesdays?
I haven't been to it, but I mean, I can imagine how. Seeing the flyers, man. It's a stacked lineup. It's
just stacked with fucking stars. Russell's always on, and
Russell, yeah,
and the new up and comer. So they put me on after Taylor, and I mean, I never followed Taylor. We did a show with Taylor in
Arizona,
right?
Yeah,
she is so her skills don't match what she looks like, dude. Like, you know what she looks like to me? A robot. Like the computer. But when you see her, she looks like this innocent little girl that doesn't even look like she can do comedy. She just looks like
what's her name?
Taylor Tomlinson. She's 25 years old.
Oh, okay.
She's your age. She's who you should have been. Anyways,
keep that in mind.
You should have been a hot white girl.
You should have been a hot white girl.
There's still time. There's still time.
Yeah. Just
change it up.
Yeah, man. Just go to the Philippines and do it cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
cut and drill. They do it even cheaper. Yeah. So she goes up, and again, when we did the shows with her, I was just mesmerized how good she was for how young she was. And after I go, oh, good, I get to follow Taylor. And then I went there, and I'm like, whoa, this is going to be a little harder than I thought, because everybody's her age basically too, and they all love her because she's blew up on Conan. And my first 2 minutes, I was like, holy shit, I have to work. And then I fucking, you know who I am. Anyways,
don't worry, get back. No, I get it.
I get up and I'm crying in a corner. You know who I am. And she's you know what's funny? Beast, after you kill a show like that, because everybody watches in the big screens, like, so the green room of the Laugh Factory, Justin, it's huge. It's like a lounge with all big screen TVs. So all the pros and the coolest kids in the block are watching the show. Yeah, because the comics are not watching in the audience. Sometimes they are in the corner right before they come up, but they have a lounge that's just all for comics.
I see.
And I'm like, oh my! And I see Chris Tucker looking at the comic, looking at Taylor, and he's like, "Who's this?" And he's like, "Oh man, she's really good." And Darnell's is like, "Yeah, she's all right," you know. And then I'm like, "Wait, I'm next." These guys are gonna talk about me.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'm like, because they're talking about every comic that's on stage. They're like, yo, Ruben's doing a new joke. Oh, that's, you know, they're always talking and to each other. They're eating wings. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to talk. Like, that was scary to me. Seeing Darnell, Chris Tucker, and whoever their crew is with Russell. And then Russell just like, killed it? Just so you don't embarrass me? And I'm like, why did you even have to say that? And then so I'm ready to go up, and then I swear he brings me up. He's like, and your next comic, good friend of mine, Ron Josol. Everybody's clapping. I can't move because Russell has his hand under my shirt holding my tit. And I'm like, and then he's yanking it. I'm like, And then everybody's watching this. I'm like, this can't, come on, man. And then after I go up, and then he grabs my back of my belt, and then everybody's laughing. I'm like, now I look stupid.
Oh, he's fucking with you before you even.
Yeah. And then I go up,
throw you off.
and then kill, and then I go back, and after, he's just laughing, and, he's introduced me to Darnell and Tucker. And but if I died, he would never introduce me to them. I know that's a fact because that's what I bombed my first showcase for Laugh Factory. I bombed. Jamie didn't actually see my set. He actually left, because that was great, and he didn't introduce me all the big guys because it's embarrassing to introduce the person that bombed.
What you saying, Donnell or Donnell Rawlings?
Donnell.
Okay,
Donnell.
It's from Chappelle's show.
Yeah.
That guy.
Donnell
Okay,
Rawlings. Ashley Larry. Did I say Darnell?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I was hearing you saying Darnell, like
Donnell. I think I said Darnell by mistake, but I meant Donnell.
I was like, I didn't know if it was a different guy or not.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Like, Ruben just knows so many like heavy
everybody,
hitters.
dude. Like,
it's insane, man. Like, we were talking about George Lopez because, like, when I was getting interested in comedy, he was just like one of my favorites too. George Lopez was just a fucking killer, and definitely I agree that he is underrated, I guess, when it comes to like talking comedy. But to me, like, dude, he was just he was like the best at doing like using props on stage, like the stuff on stage is props. Like, he was like the master of that. Like, he would tell a story about
in his specials.
Yeah,
He would use it as like a walker or a fucking cell phone back in the day,
Yeah, like the best one I think he ever did was he was talking about his grandmother on an oxygen tank, and he takes the mic cord and he puts it like this. He puts it like this, and he just starts doing that. He starts acting like his grandmother with this in her. Dude, I'm fucking. Or he'll take like the mic stand and he'll pump it like he's pumping a keg. Dude, it's just fucking like no one does that kind of shit.
Yeah, the Jokoy used to use it as the stool is a woman's vagina.
Yeah.
He used to take a mic and then click it on the side. He would put the mic to the side to make it look like he's taking pictures. Yeah, and then who's the other comic that? Oh no, it was I think it was Harvey, where he would put the stool on its side and then go on it and pretend he's rowing a boat.
Oh, Steve Harvey.
Oh yeah,
Steve Harvey.
Yeah, like he was. It was the when he was doing Titanic when there were black people. Black people on the Titanic. Yeah, I remember that.
I should start using the stool. I should get 2 stools and pretend I'm putting on shoes and just walk around with snowshoes. Like, I don't know.
God. That's really pushing it.
Yeah, I mean, there's more stuff you could do.
That who I forgot the bit, but like it's like he fucked the stool in like a bunch of positions in like 5 minutes.
Wow, there's a comic that does that.
Bobby Lee?
No, I forget who it was, but it was
Taylor
amazing
Tomlinson?
to watch. Huh?
Maybe it was Whitney, because I see her fuck. She does bits where she fucks the stool a lot.
Well, I don't think it was her, because it was a guy for sure. Because there was a lot of humping going on. But
it's got to be Bobby Lee, man.
It was amazing to see. I forget who it was. It might have been Kevin Hart. But it was amazing to see because you could just visualize it so well the way they do it,
like him naked.
Could have been Kevin Hart,
like him naked banging.
Yeah.
But it's crazy.
I just said you could visualize him naked banging, and you're like, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But like Kevin Hart and Bobby Lee are
coming
so
out.
tiny.
More secrets. Sorry.
Kevin Hart and Bobby Lee are so like tiny. Like they can physically like hug the stool and put their legs on there without the stool falling over. That's how small they are. Like they know how to balance themselves. But Ruben had like all these like gems with like the tricks. Where I remember we talking about the trick. I wanted to jump in on the tricks part, but he was on a roll. I just wanted to let him keep talking. But I always talk about like Chappelle with he slap the mic on his leg or whatever to kind of like let the show that this is funny. The audience would, and it's just basically like the Pavlov's dog experiment. The psychology experiment where he got the dogs to saliv. Yeah, he conditioned the dogs to salivate not only when he brought in food, but when his lab assistants would walk in with the food, and the dogs would start salivating, hearing the footsteps.
Right.
So they were like conditioned to, like the bell too.
Bell.
So they were all like conditioned to respond a certain way, and that's kind of like the same thing when he hits the mic.
Yeah,
like the audience know, oh, this is the funny part.
Do you know that, Justin? Do you know that? Fuck, I remember. I don't know if you were there with me and Luz, but me and Luz, she has the softest legs. But anyways, we were. Doesn't Luz has soft skin? Let's just admit it, guys. Anyways,
she Asian?
No, she's what is she?
She's
Latina, but El Salvador.
She's
Peruvian.
Peruvian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Peruvian.
I was gonna say Ecuadorian, not Ecuadorian.
She used to wear like tight jeans with the holes in it, and she allowed me to put my hands within the holes where the legs are, so I could just squish it while we watch shows. It was just it was fun for me in a dirty way, and she just ignores me. But we would do open mics together, and then we went to some alt shows like a UBC, blah blah. Remember that? Do you remember that comic that he was an alt comic? He's probably dead now, but he
with the step ladder.
Yeah, and he would do the punchline on top of the step ladder. And then he would walk down it, and then do a setup, and then do the punchline on the top. And then eventually, whenever he would walk, they would laugh on top. And then he would be like, "Yeah."
Oh, they just laugh at the top.
Yeah, and he goes, "There was no joke there. I just trained you." And then he would leave, and we're all like, "I'm all my hands."
Took advantage of my mind.
Yeah, I'm just squishing the fat beside the knee.
Why didn't she ever stop you? She must have been into you.
I think there was a possibility, because I remember when I was dating Kasha, she sent me a message going, "Who the fuck is that bitch?" It was a joke, but maybe there was something real. I didn't, I think.
Of course, I mean, how do you keep groping her on, car rides down to San Diego? That's a fucking 3-hour ride.
I'm not touching her anything serious. It's just squishing her the fat on the legs.
Yeah, but in a police report, it's the same thing. It sounds just as bad as inserting.
Yeah. There's an insertion on my knee. That was too much.
It's under the clothing.
He inserted his fingers in my pant hole.
Yeah. And there's no way to defend that in court. I can't go, "Officer, I don't speak with my mouth."
How many times is she wearing like jeans with like holes in them?
All the time for Ron. All the time for Ron.
Every time she saw me, she was wearing tight ripped jeans. But whenever I wasn't there, I would say she wore dresses and leggings.
She always wanted to carpool with Ron to like San Diego. That's a 3-hour drive from
Justin's
LA.
good looking. Actually, she actually said Justin's good looking. I asked her too. She's really hot. She's like, I go, "Would you rather do our friend Michael or Justin?" And she goes, "Justin's more good looking than Michael." And I told Justin, and Justin lost it. Like I heard 250 pounds drop on the other side of the phone. Like I heard boom boom boom, and I heard a knock. We're bleeding. Bong 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 bong. It sounded like 14 people falling down the stairs when it was just Justin in his flat. It's just like.
I still don't believe that story,
dude. She thinks you're cute. That's why she always makes fun of you online, and then she'd be like, "Yeah, because you don't get this and this and that," and you're like, "Man, this girl's pissing me off." I'm like, "That's how she flirts."
Dude, she was roasting me on my that, remember, Ronnie, my picture of you asked me about it, my profile picture. Yeah.
Oh, that one. Oh, yeah.
That one, and the one with me and my ex with the circled heart. Like she with Rebecca there, she would comment like, what did I say on the picture? I said, I said shoot your shot, right? And then Luz commented, "She doesn't want you," or some shit like that.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, and be like, "Luz, I just want to be friends. I don't want to ruin our relationship, our friendship. Happy Valentine's Day." And she laughed at it.
Oh, man. Yeah, she's awesome. I really do like her, but she is a bitch. Anyways, She
She
tells
is,
me
though.
she is, man. She makes fun of you when she likes you. That's like
It's like kindergarten, man. It's like
kindergarten shit.
when the boy has a crush on a girl and like he's just like a bully or to her,
pulling on her ponytail or some shit.
Yeah, or whatever.
Her nipple,
pushing her
pulling on her
lines,
nipple.
doing-
Yeah,
pulling on her nipple
yeah. Like you're milking something.
in kindergarten.
Oh, you never did that? No. Yeah, she was really cool. She I think she's a really good person deep inside, but she has this just a shell that like is a little bit of.
It's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah, she's really nice though. Yeah.
Yeah, because she grew up in the jungles of fucking Peru where she had to fend off, men and fucking savages and wild animals trying to pillage her village.
Yeah.
So she has this tough exterior.
So that's why she makes fun of guys that she likes.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a defense mechanism. It really is.
One time I picked her up and she wanted to give me a gift because I always drive. So she got me a cake.
A whole cake?
Yeah, like she got a straight up cake on a paper plate. She was like, "Look what I got you."
Paper plate.
I'm like, "Where'd you get this?" And she's like, "My mom. She made a cake and I just wanted to bring you a slice." I'm like, "Okay, where are we gonna put it?" She's like, "I don't know." I'm like, well,
eat
you
it
could have
all
thought about
right
that.
now.
Well, I mean, it was the slice was huge, so I just put it in the back seat and like put my shirt over it.
Were you like, I'm diabetic, Luz?
No, I don't tell her. I don't tell girls anything till I bang them. Listen, once it's done, I tell them all the list of problems. What they have to go to they have to go get my medicine for me. My teacher shit comes out after it's done. All my teacher shit comes out. I'm like, there's a scar here from 1978. It was a fight I had with a black. And then I have diabetes. You have to get me 4 pills every Monday. You have to go to get my pills. I then massage my legs. I have to massage the legs. I need that.
That's great.
I need blood circulation.
You should start wearing your own merch. You're not helping yourself by putting Jokoy clothing on. Honestly,
it's the only hat that fits my head. I'm telling you, man.
I know, but you should honestly make it to Justin R. Like change the K to R.
Okay, I'll do that for the next show.
Yeah, because
I'll get like some fabric paint.
He doesn't need any more fans. Like I think you need more help than he does.
I think so.
I need bigger hats, man. This is the only hat I swear,
I know. I'm just saying, put your name on it, man. The J is already done for you. He already helped you. He always helps you. He already helped half your merch sales by putting the J. You just have to fix the K.
I'm gonna fix the K. You're right. I'm gonna just fabric ink.